Alright guys, in today's video we're going to go over the Witch Doctor pet build, and this is it's going to look very similar, but we're going to go over a lot of the changes that just took effect with patch 2.0.5, and maybe, you'll change up your skills a little bit, maybe you won't. If you are running the similar build that, has been popular for the last couple patches and continue to run that, we'll touch base on a couple of the patch notes and some of the skills that have been affected, as well as the main one, which was the Fetish Sycophants, and we'll go over that here in 1 second. As far as the build goes, we're running a Firebomb with Pyrogeist. This creates a column of flame that spews fire at the closest enemy for 880% weapon damage as fire over 6 seconds. And you can cast 3 of these, and cast them in any direction. Going to look a little bit like that, and they'll jump. They got really good range. I use this when I'm trying to stay at distance. Maybe there's, a certain affix that doesn't allow me to get close to an elite or something like that. Outside of that, there's not a huge use for it unless you're just trying to keep distance. Your main attack is still going to be Fire Bats with the Vampire Bats rune. This allows you to, you got the initial cost of 225 mana, but it's going to allow you to channel this at no additional cost, and this does change the damage to fire, which is going to be kind of the theme that we've got here between fire and physical, and that's going to be a lot of the items you're going to want to pick up as far as gear goes. And bringing that up, they've done a lot in the patch notes to change the types of damage of certain skills, I think, to kind of, bring out different builds, bring out different stuff that gear might not have been very good for previously, but I think they're trying to mix that up a little bit. And we'll touch base on a couple things. For our next spell, I've seen a lot of people running Piranhas with the Tornado effect to bring everything in. This gives it a 16-second cooldown, and if you're running the passive that brings your skill, or that reduces skills by 1 second for every kill, that's going to come down a little bit. But we're running Wall of Zombies, and I've been running this a lot in higher torments. This keeps a lot of damage off of you, and we're running it with Wrecking Crew. And what Wrecking Crew does is that it taunts enemies, and it's got a pretty wide range. We're doing this. It does a little bit of damage. It's going to do it as physical, so we're boosting that up a little bit with gear. But overall, it's more just a crowd control effect. I was running in, had some melee guys, had some ranged guys. Especially if you got it, you do that, it summons everything basically in the general area to it, keeps the damage off of you, and creates a shield. And that was pretty effective. Like I said, the Piranhas, they're going to take a little bit longer, and they're not always going to be as effective. With the Wall of Zombies, there's only an 8-second cooldown. You reduce that a little bit with your passive, and you can pretty much get this thing going and keep it up almost permanently to keep a lot of damage off of you. And so that's why we're running that. The Fetish Army, which you'll see a lot here, this is where you summon all the little fetishes. You get 5 of them. The fetishes attack for 180% of your weapon damage as physical. We've got that boosted up to 250. One of the things that you might change a little bit now, because they've changed Fetish Sycophants to where it's not on cast, it's on hit, you might not have as many Sycophants up, so when you're running this, you might want to, bring 3 up. It's a little bit better, defensive-wise to keep things off of you. But it's going to be personal preference there. You can also do the decreased cooldown. This will keep your fetishes up a little longer, stuff like that. But we're going to run that there for our cooldown. That's mainly for bosses and elites, but it can be one of those things that you go every time it's on cooldown because of the passive, and if you reduce the time there. Gargantuan, here's another one. I still normally run with Restless Giant here, and I'll do that when I'm playing solo. When we're farming the higher torment levels and stuff doesn't die as fast, I've been running it with the big Stinker rune here, just so it's sitting there in the damage. Like I said, you're casting Wall of Zombies, you've got your Gargantuan, he's standing in there, so everything is right on top of this, and your Gargantuan is just, doing poison damage to everything drawn in there, instead of, chasing a guy over here, chasing a guy over there. This kind of, increases your area damage, so that I've been running with. I know a lot of people bring this up for a cooldown here. I don't really run with that, but Restless Giant is good. Humongoid is another one. It does a cleave ability, but they changed the damage on this to cold, so that's going to be your own preference there. It used to be physical. So the next one here And you'll see I don't have zombie dogs, and I'm going to be running zombie dogs. They just buffed zombie dogs to go from 12 to 30% weapon damage when they do bite, and they adjusted that a little bit. So you've got this 30% as physical, and if you're running, increased physical damage on your gear, that's going to boost it up even further. The reason I don't have that is because we're running this right now. The homunculus, you've probably, if you played Diablo 2, you're familiar with the name. If not, it was a nice item back then. But we've got this, and you'll see in the secondary part there, a zombie dog is automatically summoned to your side every 6 seconds. So we'll go ahead and equip that, and you'll just kind of see him come up out of the ground every 6 seconds. So there's one, and they'll just continue to populate as we go on here. There's no special ability that they have. If you are running zombie dogs and you have, say, Leeching Beast or something like that for the extra life on hit, it will summon those, but what's the point unless you're just looking for extra defense? So that might be a reason. If you're running solo, you might need the life on hit, you might ignore this altogether. But for the purposes that I'm running this, and if you're running in group play, this is a good one to have. You should have plenty of crowd control, plenty of defense. Big Bad Voodoo with the Slam Dance here. The fetish increases the damage of all nearby enemies by 30%, which is a really nice thing to have. It's a huge damage increase, and it's got a pretty big range, so that's a good one to run. And we'll go over some of the skills that they patched. Haunt, I believe they had adjusted, and this one, I believe, has a greater range. The problem with the dot spells, which is the damage over time, and they adjusted a lot of those, and you'll see on the patch notes, rather than rolling for a crit hit, Haunt will now calculate an average damage augmented by your critical hit chance and crit hit damage on application, and apply that damage evenly over the duration of the time, which is a little bit cleaner way of doing it, and it does make more sense to do it that way. The problem with that is that even running in higher torments, Torment 4, Torment 5, if you're running solo, maybe this is something you'll want to run with. But when you're running in group play, I just don't see enemies surviving long enough. I mean, if you're running in Torment 6, you're doing a hell of a job. But for your general players, and you're not running in, max Torment levels, stuff just doesn't seem to stick around, for 12 seconds, stuff like that. So it's one of those things that can be effective. You can cast 2 of them. You can do all kinds of stuff. This can be life on returning some life per second, stuff like that. But it doesn't seem to be overly effective. Same as a Locust Swarm. They do really good damage. It's just it takes too long, and by the time stuff goes, and maybe that's just the groups I'm running with. But I've tried to run these. I've tried just about every skill here to try and make it work, but it'll jump from one enemy to the next, but it just doesn't seem to be that effective. It doesn't seem, to really outweigh other skills that we're running. If you've got different experiences, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'd definitely love to hear how those kind of spells are working for you. They haven't worked for me as well as I had thought. Maybe it's just the time is too long, 8 seconds, 12 seconds. I mean, if something's up 12 seconds, maybe it's an elite, and maybe that works, but I just don't see it being that effective. So a couple of those things that we've been looking at. Horrify, they've done that. Maybe that's a more of a crowd control thing. That might work for you. There's also Mass Confusion. And while we're looking at other skills, if you are running in certain torment levels and you're finding yourself, let's say you're running by yourself or you're not in the best of groups, you'll see Spirit Walk quite a bit. And this allows you to kind of disappear for a little bit, not take any damage, and it's on a 15-second cooldown. And with the passive, and you're running that pretty quickly, and you're killing stuff, this will come up a lot quicker. And we've got a couple different things that you can run with. Healing Journey is the number one rune that you'll see, because you're going to heal yourself. So you're in danger, you pop Spirit Walk, and you heal yourself for 14%, plus you get out of danger. And one of the cool things that they did with this is that it allows you to now pass through obstacles. And this is, the main thing, like when the wall comes up, you're stuck there, it's nice that you disappear, but if you're, cornered in, it's impossible to get out of there. And they've allowed it now to where you can pass through that. So this is a nice one to hold on to. I'm mostly offense right now, but you will see me running this at times. The same for Mass Confusion. I mean, you could easily pop out any of these skills and kind of run this differently. You might not even need Firebomb, and a lot of times I'll run with just a main attack and not this here, and then you'll see something like Mass Confusion. You can run it with Paranoia. This, it confuses the enemies and they'll fight for you for 12 seconds. It's a pretty big range, and this actually comes by, again, 60 seconds, but it's going to come down a lot quicker than that. You can run it with Paranoia. The enemies that are in the area are going to take 20% more damage, and this is good for crowd control and it's good for dealing damage. This is a fun one to have sometimes. You got a lot of stuff attacking you or a lot of stuff in the area. You pop this, a fair amount of things are going to turn around and just start attacking each other, and it'll take the focus off of you. And then with Mass Confusion here, you can do more damage. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's out there as far as other skills go. This is just what I've been running with a lot. The main thing is Wall of Zombies, and we'll do a little bit of gameplay after this so you can see how this works. Everything's going to kind of run to it in that general area. You basically set up a huge defensive line in front of you between this and your pets. And I don't know. I don't take a whole lot of damage when farming, but there are some other options you can clearly go with. We'll move on to the passive skills real quick. Graven Justice, and this is the one I was referring to as far as our passive skills. You gain 1% of your maximum life and mana and reduce the cooldown of all your skills by 1 second when an enemy dies within 20 yards. It's also increased by your gold pickup radius, which is pretty cool. So you run this, stuff's dying around you, and next thing you know, this 8-second wall of zombies, this, let's say you kill 3 enemies, it's down to 5. After you've killed those 3, it's probably been a few seconds, and obviously you're going to have more than 3 enemies around. And then next thing you know, this is back up after just a few kills, and you're just helping fend yourself off. Same for your big cooldowns. It might be 2 minutes, but with this here, it's going to be a little bit quicker. Pierce the Veil, and the reason we're running this is because we're running Fire Bats with Vampire Bats to where we're not going to be using a lot of mana. We're going to have the initial cost, but we're going to be running this. This increases your damage by 20%, but mana costs are increased by 30%. So it's going to cost more to cast your spell, but since you're only going to be channeling, you're going to be doing more damage without the expensive mana. So this is a good one to hold on to. There's definitely other things you can run with if you're not running Fire Bats. If you're running something else, you can run Jungle Fortitude if you're farming higher difficulty levels, stuff like that. For our next one, we've got Midnight Feast. This gives you 1 additional zombie dog summoned at one time. The damage of your zombie dogs in Gargantuan is increased by 50%. So this is the pet build, so we want as many pets up as we can because they're the ones that are going to be doing the damage. And so you have more round, you have 1 more round, plus they're doing more damage, which is why I have 4 here. So, and again, I'm using the skill here to where I don't need to have this spell on it. It tends to work fine. They survive okay. Defensively, I don't take a lot of damage, so it's a good one to have there. And the last one here, and this is the big one that they changed. And when you hit enemies, this used to just be on cast, and when you were casting Fire Bats, this used to come around a lot quicker because it ticked so quickly. And now it's when you hit enemies, and they've explained it to the point to where, if there's a larger group of enemies, you're going to have obviously a higher chance to get that. It went from 5% to 10% for chance to summon, but you have to group things up and hit them in order for them to cast. Now, I don't know if this was an oversight or whether it's intended. I have the Gidbin here. The damage isn't that great, but I tend to keep it around just because the secondary, chance to summon a fetish when attacking. Now, they didn't fix this to where it's on hit, so I can continue. You'll see 1 popped out there. I can channel Fire Bats. They're a little bit smaller than the normal ones that you're looking at. Now, again, I don't know if this was an oversight or whether it was intended to keep it that way, so I can continue to bring in more sycophants here, more fetishes, by casting this way. So it's one thing to keep in mind. You're not going to have a ton of them up at a time. But it's, every little one counts, every one that's going to sit around and, help bring stuff, keep it off of you. That's a good one to have around. So, but the main thing with this is that these will stay up for, a full minute. And so bringing stuff in Wall of Zombies wise is also another added benefit because it's going to bring stuff into a group, allow you to hit more at one time, and allow you to, have a little bit higher chance instead of, I've got a dog over here, a dog over here, a dog over here, and a gargantuan over here just fighting, all over the place. You cast Wall of Zombies, everything's going to be in this general area, and you just cast right on it. And that's going to bring, a lot more, fetishes to your side. So these are a couple things to keep in mind when doing the build. Obviously, you don't need the Gidbin, you don't need the Homunculus, and there's probably better gear out there. I've got this here. Zombie dogs, 30% of the damage is redirected to them. This does more damage for me, but right now, because I'm, popping cooldowns and doing stuff like that in, group play, that's what we're running with. So these are a couple things you can definitely, manipulate, change, and that's one of the reasons why I like the Witch Doctor builds, is because there are a lot of, there's a lot of variety in terms of how you want to play. A lot of people are still running Acid Cloud, stuff like that. You can use this to get out of danger, use these guys to heal up. Hex can be good, Mass Confusion. There's just so many different things that you can use that, are effective. And, there's even another item that allows for Plague of Toads to go through, additional enemy. And I've seen a lot of people run explosive toads, doing a lot of fire damage there. So it's going to depend on your gear, and that's a fun part about the Witch Doctor. A couple other passives that you can look at. You can stack this, Gruesome Feast. You get an intelligence bonus every time there's a health globe. And this can stack up and really boost your damage. Jungle Fortitude, like I had mentioned, you can get this to help reduce damage, especially if you're farming solo or just in a small group and you're taking a little bit more damage than you would like. There's a lot of stuff. They changed Fierce Loyalty. This now gives you an additional zombie dog as well. And they acknowledged, and I think if you've played a Witch Doctor, you know this. You kind of sit back, let your pets go, and then you go back into damage, and then stuff dies, and then you're constantly trying to play catch-up. So if you're trying to cast, Wall of Zombies, and stuff's dying too quick, or you're trying to cast Fire Bats, you have to cast, channel, and if you continue to cast, you're going to run out of mana. And so they made it a little bit easier so that you can catch up a little bit. And, this basically says that when you're not fighting, your movement speed is increased by 30%. So you catch up a little bit that way. That's all, personal preference. I don't normally like movement speed stuff that affects the build. You're either wanting to do damage or you're wanting to survive. I'm not looking to move faster between groups because if I'm dead when I get there, it's not going to make a difference how fast I got there. So just a couple things to keep an eye on. As far as gear goes, because your pets are going to be doing, physical damage, the fetishes, because your zombie dogs are going to be doing physical damage, you're going to want to look for increased physical damage on your gear. I've got 18% here. I've got I guess, somewhat decent amulet. It's got fire skills damage, but I haven't had much luck getting amulets, so I'd love one with physical damage. The pet build, and here is the main item you're going to want to look for before we get past this. Mask of Jerem, and I got this off of Kadala. So if you're looking to build your pet build, you're obviously wanting the helm to drop. You're obviously trying to get as many chances as you can get. So spinning your blood shards at Kadala might be pretty beneficial. I got this. You'll look on the secondary part. Pets deal 85% more damage, and that's going to be a huge buff. I believe it goes up to 100%. So you can have your pets effectively doing twice as much damage as what they show. So this is something to keep in mind when you are farming for gear there. Shoulders, these are just defensive shoulders here. As far as sets go, I'm running this for the increased magic find and the experience. Two-piece of this, which I'm running pants and boots, and that's where it started. Boots and pants, right? You get the extra increased 8% attack speed, so that's a good one to kind of hold on to. And here on the boots, you can roll increased fire bats damage, which is pretty neat to do some more damage. And you can roll that on any of your boots, so that's a good thing to keep an eye on if you've got defense. And again, if there's movement speed on there, I'm not going to get I'm not going to kill anything faster by getting there faster. I mean, I guess if you want to look at it that way, you could. But the more damage you do, obviously stuff's going to die faster. So increasing fire bats damage is a good place to start. Belt. This is a crafted belt, increased attack speed. This is a plan you'll pick up. Hopefully with the buff in the plan drops, this will show up for you. I'm running Helltooth Tunic just because it's got really good stats on it. I'm looking for a second piece to run on this for the 500 intelligence. The Gidben, again, this isn't a very strong weapon, but it gets the job done when I'm getting the fetishes there. And I've had terrible luck getting weapons, but hopefully with this birthday week, maybe some better gear will drop. Rings is just the trifecta with attack speed, crit hit damage, and crit hit chance with some intelligence on there, and I've got that on both rings. Outside of that, the Mage Fists are a good one to run. I'll use these when I'm looking to do just pure damage. I got the trifecta on here, some intelligence, and I've got the increased fire damage, which is your fire bats. So this is a good one. I'll hold on here. You can see it's actually a pretty big increase for me. Boosts me up about another 100,000 there. So just something to keep in mind when you're farming up. And we'll go ahead. We'll do a little bit of gameplay. Again, like I said, if you got any questions, there's a whole lot of variety you can do here. Feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll let you know a couple things that might work for me that we didn't go over. I change these up all the time depending on group play, solo play, and what type of group I'm running with. If I'm running with a bunch of casters, I'm going to look for more defense. If I'm running with more melee and they're going to do crowd control, I'm going to look for more offense. So it's just a couple things to look for. I like the flexibility. This is a very stress-free build for the most part compared to some of the other characters. You can stay hidden for a good part of things. So we're going to do a little bit of gameplay. If you want to stick around for that, we'll show it in action. We'll go ahead and get that bad boy up there. But if you like the video, guys, I definitely appreciate any likes you got to throw this way. Feel free to subscribe because we're going to be doing some more build videos on 2.0.5, going over some other characters. We've got the Barbarian, the Wizard, the Witch Doctor, and the Demon Hunter that we'll all be covering. So feel free to check those out if you're like me and love playing a lot of characters. Other than that, guys, happy hunting, and we'll see you next time, and hope you enjoy the video. This is good.